remember that they're changing my voice. I'm not gay. There's a bunch of people in Greek societies and social clubs, what have you. There's a bunch of white, Jewish, and LGBT supremacists who, okay, remember that they're changing my voice. I'm not gay. There's a bunch of people in white, Jewish, and LGBT supremacist groups, and they work with the rich, and basically everyone but me is doing what they say. And they change the sound of my voice. Now, the picture on the screen has been drastically reduced by people in Greek societies and stuff like that, the LGBT community, and the white and Jewish elite who use Islam and drug cartels, etc. You know, they told them what to do through the CIA and MI5, what have you. You know, Mossad and other groups, Freemasons, you know, who are basically, they were like the CIA before the CIA existed, except for with more of a cult theme. And they use them to kind of create the situation where they can argue that if people don't like the culture, if they don't like being forced to be gay or seem gay or to be whitewashed or Jewish washed or to pretend that whites and Jews are, you know, X, Y, and Z, you know, chosen, all this other nonsense they like to pretend, that you know, they tell them to leave and they gentrify. That's part of why I was gentrified out of sunny California into Detroit, where there's a lot of black people, you know, and black people, you know, people tend to like them, they tend to be cool, you know, some people are racist, what have you. But in the eyes of the white and Jewish oppressor, Detroit to them is not a desirable place. Okay, it has to do with that. So that's why they edited the image on the screen. Now this video isn't about the image on the screen, which at one point was the best martial art picture ever taken. And it was about 4 years before I struck at world record speed. And I was sabotaged and covertly drugged along the way. I wasn't so much covertly drugged in 2012. They were doing a little something, and I have a video where I talk about that in 2012. But they really step it up maybe 2015. And along the way, right, 2011, before that, you know, they were trying to get me on psych meds, what have you, and trying to keep me on psych meds, which would reduce my performance. But, you know, and when I say performance, not acting, but, you know, in terms of actually striking in reality. And in 2016, I struck at world record speed. So between 2012 and 2016, I did the best martial arts in human history. Okay, not in terms of doing flips and stuff like that. I didn't do stuff like that. Not in terms of, you know, being flexible. I didn't focus on stuff like that. But in terms of the master form, what is the most applicable for combat, what have you. And at times, the way I struck looked more presentable than other people's styles. So they did things like edit my videos. So then I started to, because if I kind of put the phone maybe 10 feet away from me, 5 feet away from me, 3 feet away from me, they would edit it so it looked very weird. I can't, you know, it's not easy to describe how it looks weird. And so they were also slowing it down. So I started putting the phone closer, and I started using a stopwatch to show that I wasn't slowing it down. Okay, and so you could kind of appreciate at one point. I think now they've done things to kind of confuse it. Sometimes they even speed it up. I don't know if they're going to maintain that because they switch it up all the time. And a lot of times they slowed it down. And basically every time they changed the way I look to make it so I look weird. Okay, they're that crazy. Think about gays who fixate on things. Think about English people in movies who fixate on things and demand to have it their way. Think about rich control freaks in general, and you'll understand why they're doing it that way. It has to do with them expressing their spirit. Their spirit isn't just a gay person at a gay parade or a gay person in a suit or giving, you know, some kind of presentation or a gay priest. It's also the gays who throw fits. So they're throwing fits when they sabotage my videos, and that's a huge part of the story. So this video is about 2012 to 2017 in my videos, and some of the best videos I made were around 2015. I was in my martial art gi. I had the Cali beanie on my head and matched my gi, and I had a certain form, and I was conveying potent messages. And they've edited every video that I've come across. I'm pretty sure they edited every last one of my videos. And so I have thousands of videos, so I haven't gone over every video I've ever made. Plus I have a certain condition, but every once in a while when I look at it, I see that they changed the way I sound and so on and so forth, to their extreme disgrace. Remember, this is something them and their offspring are going to have to take with them forever. A lot of them don't agree with it because it's such a dumb thing to do. They meet their maker being the group of people that insulted God and persecuted the most righteous person ever, God's son, so on and so forth. So anyway, I made my challenge. I had a 2012 challenge in May, right? May 4th, 2013 challenge, December 20th. The martial art picture was taken maybe May or June. Okay, I simply flexed in front of the camera after working out, and I was very shredded, and I liked the way it looked, so I made a video with that picture. Okay, and all my older channels, right? I went over that in the last video, the video that I'm going to put before this on the Proof I'm Christ playlist. So I went over how they made it so I looked really bad in 2009 to 2012, right? I was recovering from doing a lot of drinking in 2009. I'd quit earlier in the year, and in August, I started making videos. So I actually quit May 6, 2009. I quit drinking, and my first martial art challenge where I kind of challenged everybody, it was really just Northern California at the time for that challenge. It was May 4th. It was within 2 years apart. 2 days apart. And ironically, also, this female I was dating named Maria, a different one than the one who broke my heart, she broke up with me on May 6th, right, the day after Cinco de Mayo, and she was Mexican, right? So it's interesting how those dates, there's a May 4th date and 2 May 6th dates. And, there's a lot of connections there, right? The word May, okay, is yam backwards, there's yam cult in Nigeria. There's a lot of connections there. Maya, this person who's talking to my dad, who for like 2 years, almost 2.5 years, I was like 2 years and 4 months or something, has been kind of putting the carrot on the stick and trying to give him false hope, why they, threaten him and my family, so that they kind of go along with the gang stalk and stuff. And my dad's really old, he has a condition, he kind of limps around, and so there's that. And of course, again, the governing class, they're desperate, they're weirdos, they're control freaks. They know they don't want to debate me about these things. They know that people know that I'm right, and they know that they're wrong. So in 2013, December 20th, I made the top martial arts challenge. The first year, I believe, they sabotaged me heavily, covertly, drugged me heavily, were trying to get me on psych meds heavily. Okay, and so around 2015 or so, I called this person who knew me better than anyone else at the time. Since then, they really got to her because they made that video, but at the time, she was very sharp and very kind of pleasant, what have you. Not sharp enough to, rekindle our relationship, but she had known me for like 10 years or something at that point, and I talked to her a lot. Unlike my parents and my brothers, I didn't talk to so much. I didn't talk to other people so much. So she knew me better than everyone else, and she lived in El Rancho Verde in San Jose, the most populated apartment complex in the city, and she said I was the most normal person that she knows. And you could tell in the video that she was saying it on her own volition, of her own will. And I'm sure you can tell that by the videos that I'm making. The word moral scrambled on the word normal. Focus, moral intensity, and universal pinpoint and moral precision are my religion. Those two things together. Now I'm going way over time in this video, so let me wrap this up. I started striking in a very impressive way that transcended everything other people had done before me, and in 2015. So in 2016, I struck at world record speed, and no one could ever possibly beat it. To detect breeding, cheating, and generational ill-gotten gains, they're all ruled out. Okay. So in 2017, they blind me, and people are very jealous. They're trying to scramble to kind of mislead people, what have you. They blinded me for 3 days or so, and I was also crippled, crawling around, right? And eventually I go to the optometrist, and they diagnose me and give me special glasses, and my sight returns to some degree. But to this day, since 2017, like in September 2017 or something, I've been wearing these kind of special glasses, right? There were different ones initially, and then I switched over to these ones that I'm wearing now. So my eyesight's still messed up, and my brain has been zapped many times since then, but we'll get to the period of 2017 to 2026 in the next video.